Welcome to Philanthropy SA. This is a podcast about and for the philanthropic community in San Antonio and South Texas. We introduce organizations and people who are making an impact in the community. Beneficent Financial is proud to sponsor this podcast, and it is our hope that you enjoy this conversation about the impact we can have. The goal is to edify and inspire. Now please join our host, Dan Rebman.
Welcome to Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Rebman. Very pleased today to be joined by Hugh Farr. He is the Chief Development Officer at Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Texas. Just a word of note, one of the folks in my practice is a big at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and it really enjoys doing that. So if you want to go back and listen to a past episode, catch Brisa Gonzalez's Foot Soldier of Philanthropy episode, and you can hear all about the stuff that she's doing there. But we're here today to talk to Hugh, and before we get into all the great work that Big Brothers and Big Sisters of South Texas is doing, I want to hear a little bit about you and how you came to Texas. And you weren't quite born here, but you may as well have been, right?
Right. So my parents, they both attended Trinity University. They, after graduating, decided to live the life of Riley and lived in Spain for a number of years. And then I crashed that party, and they moved back to the States. And sadly, they split. And Mom being from here, we moved with Mom and took up residence at age 7 and been here largely ever since. I think Mom wanted me to be a priest because I only went to Catholic school, but that was not my calling. It was another calling. And here I am now, going to be 21, 22 years in nonprofit work collectively, and it's been a wonderful ride, wonderful experience.
Excellent. So what is it that caused you to get drawn into the non-calling? You use the word calling. So in the nonprofit world, what is it that you think led you to this?
Well, I had a short stint in the corporate world, and I thought incorrectly that if I became part of a nonprofit board, that could elevate the brand for whom I worked. And I could be a good corporate citizen. My company could be a good corporate citizen. And that would, I think at that time I was thinking about it for self-promotion purposes more than anything altruistic. And I found that the volunteer work that I was doing was much more meaningful than the corporate work. And frankly, they didn't care what I was doing outside of work time. And the hours were very long and very grueling. And I thought, there's probably something else, something better. And as it turns out, where I was volunteering had a help wanted sign. And I threw my name in the hat. They took a leap of faith. And amazingly, it was for a higher salary, which I did not expect. And it was a lot of work, but it was wonderful. And that's how I got hooked. The Salvation Army was where I first started. And they took a chance. And I've never looked back since. And it was a wonderful education. Got to know the Army. Didn't even realize at that time that it still is a church and a wonderful ministry, global ministry. And it was just fantastic. A wonderful education for me in that work.
Very good. And so what brought you to Big Brothers and Big Sisters?
Well, the unique thing about Salvation Army is that it's direct human service. And I took a break from that to go to work for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And that was different insofar as its medical disease research fundraising and that kind of work. And the difference being from Salvation Army was that it was not so much human service interaction. And then I just felt, again, a calling to get more into human service, direct service work. And the common thread through my entire career in terms of nonprofits has been in the service of children. Not by design, quite by accident, but a beautiful accident. And Big Brothers Big Sisters allowed me a chance to really refine that in a way that allowed direct contact. I became a Big Brother 2 years ago. After having done it many, many years before as a younger person. And frankly, then I was not equipped to really be the kind of big brother that I think any of us aspire to be. And so by going back to doing it again and now working for the company, I guess I'm still trying to work off that guilt, that in my mind, my shortcoming. So I have, or still trying. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful career, another part of my career in this field. And I've seen the transformation happen personally, and professionally. And with people like Brisa, whom we both know and know is really doing great work. In fact, she and I collaborated on a Spanish language TV piece, which you might know, for Univision. And that was just a fantastic experience. And so it's just been another deep and involving experience to work with young people, to see them through post-high school, post-graduate school in some cases, to just do amazing things. And because, not only, but largely because they have an advocate, a guide, a mentor in their life, a champion, a cheerleader, for all the good things, to advise them, admonish them away from the bad things, but together, and largely with whatever the little wants to do, but with encouragement and wisdom, hopefully from the big, to come up with something for their own, for themselves. And it's just beautiful. There's a young man that I know. I say young man. He's a grown man now. He graduated early, his undergraduate from University of Tennessee. He also graduated early with his MBA from University of Tennessee, and now is working for BAE Systems in Michigan, defense contractor. And they're talking to him about paying for his law degree. And his mother might have a 5th or 6th grade education. Mm-hmm. And that would not have been possible without the two bigs that were in his life. I tease him that the only reason I'm nice to him is because one day I'm going to hit him up for a job, and hopefully he'll have an opening for a doorman or a busboy. But he's a shining example of the transformative power of this program, and I'm certain that Brisa is seeing similar transformative effects in her relationship with her little, and so many others. Not everyone is designed to go to college. It's not to say that, it's an aspirational goal, but it doesn't always happen. There's so many opportunities in the trades and such a need for the trades. We have a great relationship with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Worker Union, Local 60, which is not far from here. And they have some incredible apprenticeship programs that pay very well and are in huge demand. And so just offering young people what we call the 3 E's, that is employment that pays a living wage post-high school, enlistment in any branch of the military, which offers an incredible set of career opportunities, global career opportunities, and then education, perhaps, if that's another path that a child wants to take, to go on to get their bachelor's, their master's. I was telling this young man that I was telling you about, just get a couple of PhDs and then we'll be happy. But it's whatever the child, together with their big, work together on their post-high school plan. That's what we're trying to make happen.
Yeah. And that's, it's incredible that, with those stories and being able to have that level of impact. And I want to compliment you because normally I have to do the transition from you into the program, and you did it seamlessly.
Oh, thank you.
So see, there you go. I didn't even have to do that, but I can't let it go without mentioning you mentioned having gone to Catholic school and then the whole guilt thing. So somewhere a nun is like nodding her head going, my job is done. Yes.
Several of them. I kept them very busy. I'll share an intimate detail that my mother, I'll never forget, tell me to always wear clean socks, and if not, they were going to have a sock inspection. It's forever hardwired into my brain. So they taught her well too, and she's reminded me of all that. The nuns at St. Anthony's were very good. They've done their job. Yes.
Very good. So we were talking before we started recording here, and both of my long-term listeners will remember us talking about things like going upstream and trying to tackle problems, early in the stage so that we don't have the problems down the road with, whether it's addiction or whether it's criminal behavior that results in incarceration or just the cycle of poverty that tends to go on and that type of thing. And I think you all are uniquely positioned to be able to do that. But you had some specific research, I think, that you wanted to kind of be able to share with the audience.
Yes. It's the case that we're finding more and more in terms of research and evidence that littles that are matched with bigs not only have the opportunity to ascend into different career paths that are paying, good wages and much more stable than at other times, had they not had the benefit of a big. But also their earning potential is enormously stronger and has a better trajectory. And something that was just published in what's called Arnold Ventures was this 4-year randomized control trial that shows that mentoring can cut not only delinquency but also substance abuse in young people. And a lot of this is statistical and it's research-based. But it's also common sense that if we have a strong, positive advocate, a male in our life or a female that is adult, that is professionally supported, which we offer at our office, that's what we do, to allow a young person to develop themselves, who they are, in a positive way, can have enormous spillover effects, not just for them, but for their extended family, because they then become that beacon for their own community, their own world. And it's enduring when it's done right. And we've seen pre-COVID our numbers were quite high. Then of course the pandemic destroyed much of that. So we're on a rebuild still, but the numbers are increasing, and they're slow and steady, but they are increasing. And it's just our desire to serve even more and get back to and exceed the numbers that we saw across the city. And so little by little, one match at a time, one relationship at a time, we're trying to build back. And that's ultimately the fundamental nature of this work. It is instilling in young people how to build long-term developmental relationships between themselves and the adult that is the big in their life, but then the extended family and extended community around them, so that they can become their best self.
No. And so when we talk about things like, rebuilding after COVID, and so many organizations, first of all, organizations that survived, right? Mm-hmm. And fortunately you all were able to do that. And then kind of start piecing things back together post-COVID. What would you say to someone who wants to know more about becoming a big or doesn't know what's involved? It's like, I don't have any training in that. I'm not, I don't have a counseling degree or anything. What can I do?
That's a great question. And it's certainly common. We hear all the time, I'm not worthy. What do I bring to the table? I think imposter syndrome takes many forms. I've certainly suffered from it and have thought I'm less than adequate. And I think that's very common among any prospect who is working as a volunteer, whether it's with us or anywhere else, frankly. And I think the answer is that, yes, you are worthy. You are absolutely worthy, because if you have even that question in your own heart and mind about yourself, that means that there's a spark of possibility. And within that, that can be cultivated and grown into a raging wildfire of positivity. And it just needs to be channeled and directed. And in this case, in the favor of a child's life. So many of the young people, for example, that we work with, they've been matched multiple times. They have a parent or a guardian who might have a criminal background themselves. They have not had the benefit of seeing good role modeling in the home. They have to fend for themselves. And imagine a child seeing a healthy monogamous relationship outside of their home and think, well, wait a minute, maybe I too can have that. Or maybe a meal out at a fast food restaurant isn't just for a special occasion. Maybe if I find employment and start saving my money and develop a plan, maybe I could do that and have better. And maybe even have it multiple times and not have to worry from day to day, or begin to buy my own clothes or save. There's a big brother that we work with who, of all things, wanted to do and did a stock trade exercise to show young people how they too can take capture of the market and develop their own savings and their own wealth. How incredibly transformative is that, where you're not relying on someone else or something to cover you? That's power. And that's the power that a mentor can have in any person's life. My own too. I think I'm still probably looking for a big brother in a way to be matched with. So it's just the power of human relationships and how our team can positively guide and direct a volunteer to help them develop themselves, the tools, skills, and abilities they need to be an effective volunteer. None of us are perfect, of course. We're all broken vessels in some way. So we work together collaboratively to ensure that our volunteers have everything that they need. And to be honest, if there are questions that they ask and we don't have the answer to, well, thank God for Google. Thank God for Bing. We're asking them too. And it's a discovery on all sides, because we're all coming to this in need of something. And what I keep hearing from all the bigs is how much the littles inspire them, much more so perhaps than they even imagine. And that's priceless.
Absolutely. I know that just being in the opportunity to be in a mentor relationship, it is very much a two-way street in terms of the emotional payback and that type of thing. This is probably a good spot for us to take a break and hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Many of you out there care deeply about wanting to make an impact on the world around you. You want to help take care of the people and organizations that are important to you. We understand that because we feel the same way. Beneficent Financial wants to help you. Our mission is to help people like you with professional, individualized financial advice achieve their objectives. Whether your financial legacy will stay within your family or benefit the community at large, we are able to help. Call Beneficent Financial today at 210-999-5511. In addition to traditional wealth management, we offer philanthropic services such as direct donations of required minimum distributions, donor-advised funds, and foundations. Call 210-999-5511 or go online to beneficentfinancial.net. Let us help you do well so you can do good. Securities offered through Momentum Independent Network, member SIPC/FINRA.
Thanks for joining us today on Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Redman, joined today by Hugh Farr. He is the Chief Development Officer at Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Texas. And so let's talk about that for a minute, because I'm going to start, certainly want to continue to hearing about Big Brothers Big Sisters, but Big Brothers Big Sisters is a national organization. And so you're a local, do they call you an affiliate?
We are an affiliate.
Yeah, that's typically the phrase. They don't like using the word franchises in the in the nonprofit world, but so local affiliate. So talk about just a little bit about what makes the South Texas affiliate maybe unique from the national, or the type of support you get from national, or kind of how that relationship works. Because I've talked to many nonprofit leaders, and it's always interesting because that affiliate national relationship is sometimes great, and sometimes it can be a little tense, and it can be a little, they're not, and that type of thing. So how does that work with y'all, and what makes the San Antonio affiliate unique?
Well, first of all, we're the southernmost Big Brothers Big Sisters affiliate in the state of Texas, and we cover a lot of ground. We have, if you can imagine San Antonio as the hub of the circle of the wheel, the hub of the spoke. We have offices in Corpus, in the Brazos Valley, in Kerrville, in New Braunfels, and also now in Uvalde. And collectively, we serve about 1,500 youth total served. And that can be thought of as not just active matches, that is the big and the little together as a match, so actively providing programming and support to those young people and those bigs, but also to what we call alumni. And these are young people who, after 18, have aged out, that is graduated, but we're still in touch with them until age 26 to ensure that they are transitioning well into whatever post-high school plan they've created, or maybe they're still creating with their big together, to ensure they have access to resources. We're part of a huge network of nonprofits, of which many other services are provided that we don't. So we need to tap into them as necessary. Could be for food, clothing, shelter, educational support. There's just a litany of opportunity there for them. And our relationship with the national office, I would say, is robust and good. There's been a leadership change within the last 5 years. They took on a new president, the very first African-American male president, and he's been charting a brilliant course forward for us in the network to broaden our appeal, most in particularly, maybe not exclusively, but very assuredly, because we always need more men. So we're trying to market to more men nationally and bring more men to the table. There's so many boys that don't have enough or even any positive male role models in their life. Many of them are African American, Hispanic, you name it, but just men in general. And so men are a high priority and a high commodity. So we're always looking for more men. So we've made an intentional push nationally to forge relationships with the NFL, with soccer, with sports, with iconic entities in the music industry and entertainment industry to draw more youth to the table. So in that sense, it's been very positive. We've also gone through a rebrand That's been important. Your audience can't see this, but this is some of the rebranding. It's supposed to be the big B and the little b together. Maybe you can see it. And so that's been something that's new and special. That's ideally one of the things that any national office would do, that is provide branding and marketing and strategic planning and thought associated with that. So that's been very positive. Something that I'm very, very proud of locally that we've done, not just our growth, our reemergence since COVID, but I'm really, really proud of the work that we're doing in Uvalde. We've been at it now for 2 years, and there are expansive plans underway. We're serving currently 22 active matches now, with plans to grow into Sabinal, the ISD in Sabinal, I think upwards of 22 more. And that's through the high school, what we call the high school bigs program, essentially taking older high school students to match with freshman high school students. And then also beginning work with the Uvalde ISD in particular in that school system. So, and we have one full-time employee doing all of this. And so it's really just exciting what's happening. I'm just so proud of the earnest healing that is underway there. With that community after that terrible tragedy that we all know so well. But not just there. We're expanding, like I mentioned, we're in Corpus Christi, doing some great work there with school-based programming in Kerrville. Of course, after the floods, that's certainly in need there with all of the growth. We're seeing growth across the state. It's not just here, but it's everywhere. And in Bryan, a very, very robust program there. So, and certainly can't forget New Braunfels. New Braunfels is just going like gangbusters, not just as a community growing, but just the work that we're doing. So a lot of different activities happening all the time, all over the place, and just a deep, earnest desire to serve more because we know young people need this. And it's just such a blessing to be able to do it and to share with your audience the power and invite their participation and consideration of getting involved because we need more people. I think whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, the two most important ingredients are people and money. And we're no different. And the more of both, the more we'll be able to execute this mission.
Absolutely. And so there's no lack of need, for the program. I'm sure the vision would be someday you've got people sitting around as potential bigs saying, well, we don't have anybody for you right now. Nobody's in need. That would be a beautiful thing, but highly unlikely. But to someone who's wanting to get in touch with Big Brothers Big Sisters, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we have a website, bigmentor.org. There's a ton of information there about how you can volunteer. If you prefer, you can make a donation. If time is not something that you have, you can learn about what it means to become a big. I'll briefly just touch on that. There's an online application. Once that's completed, within 24 hours, you should be contacted via email to be invited to an information session where you learn at a high level what it is and what it is not to be a big. I think that's very important that people have a very clear-eyed understanding of what we're asking them to do and the time commitment. It's really only one weekend a month and really one day a month that we're asking. Could be 2 or 3 hours of time. And we really try, because we know everything is so much more expensive than at any other time, to find as many free or suggest free or low-cost options for bigs and littles to go partake in. You don't have to take your little to the opera, to NASA, to a 5-star restaurant. It could be just going to the park, throwing the Frisbee, having a conversation, just listening. So many of these young people just need someone to hear them. They don't get that where they are, or to just bounce ideas off of. What does it mean to form my own identity, or what is this Project Marvel thing about? What is that? I keep hearing about it in the news. What is that? Is that a new comic strip? Is that a new movie coming out?
That's when the superheroes come to save us.
That's right. That's right. So just spending time, and it's so valuable. And then, we also have a host of different activities that we put on as an agency to invite the community to be a part of. And that's something that Bigs and Littles can be a part of. For example, we have a quarterly speaker series called Who Mentored You? Yesterday, we hosted the chancellor of the Alamo College District, and he shared what his personal and professional mentoring journey was. And it was quite extraordinary. He mentioned his parents, his wife, and the job that he gets to do and what he did at Palo Alto and many other things. So just a host of different activities that we can invite and engage the community to learn more about us, learn what we do, and maybe invite them, if they're willing, to help us help a child. And I tell you, anytime that we do that work, and the more conversations that I have, it's amazing to just see and meet all of the seeds that we're planting across this community. And wherever these young people find themselves, wherever they end up, it's extraordinary, because where they end up, where they are planted, they bloom.
Yeah, it's definitely that notion of planting those seeds. And you mentioned the story of the gentleman who's, at BAE Systems now, and, all that he's been able to accomplish. And that was done, over the span of time, one meeting at a time, and that dream kind of flourishing and being able to take root in being fed and then ultimately being cultivated in what he's doing today. So that whole metaphor is very apt. I'd like to pivot for a minute now, if we can, because you are in the development space, and, talk about, some of the trends that you're seeing on the development side and what kind of is going on there.
Well, it's definitely a critical time in all nonprofit fundraising. Monies are in a state of flux, and with the federal government pulling back some of its resources to organizations like ours or others, we are leaning more on private philanthropy, on individual giving, shoring up more our special events, trying to divine, as all nonprofits are, the best way, the most circuitous way to reach and engage with donors and ensure that they understand we need them, but also meeting their needs too, and showcasing for them how their giving is really making the transformation happen. And that's one gift at a time, at really any level, because anybody, I like to say, is a stockholder or an investor in this work at whatever amount they choose to give. And it's all sacred. It's all important. And our job, my job, is to tell the story, to try to tie it to the gift and to show how the gift has made that possible. And that takes time, but it's so rewarding, because I too have days where feel like I'm digging a divot out of the wall with my head. But it never fails. I'll finally make that call or book that meeting or have that one-on-one or that coffee, and I'll see the spark go off in that person, and they'll say, "I'm here to help you. Let's do something together." And it's there. It's just a matter of going after it. And, the more time I spend in the field, the more I realize, and this is not anything that your audience doesn't already know, we live in a truly, truly giving community. San Antonio is just legendary for how it steps up year after year after year. We all remember those photos of the food bank when the pandemic started. That was across the country, right here. And yet, we are still here, ourselves included, both of us at this desk, and so many others who made the decision to buckle down and see it through. And so through that, resiliency has been built up strength and fortitude, and we just have to channel it in a positive way. And that's what we do each and every day. So to anyone who's listening, if they wish to invest in a child's future right here in San Antonio and make a local impact, happy to talk with them.
There you go. So you heard it, folks. You always close with the ask, right? That's the important thing. So when I talk to people in the development sphere, I always counsel them early on that you don't measure whether you had a good day or a bad day by funds received or that kind of thing, but did you engage in the activities that are going to either meet someone new and introduce them to your organization, or develop that relationship in a way where you're getting them closer to engage, having them engage in whatever type of gifting that they're going to do. So that's something to keep in mind. One bit of good news on the donation front for folks is that with the tax legislation that was just passed, they're bringing back the guaranteed deductions that were in place a little while during COVID and then went away, but are going to be back in a bigger way. And so important for folks to know that you'll be able to donate up to $1,000 and deduct it from your taxes, even if you don't itemize your deductions. And so a married couple filing jointly, that'll be up to $2,000. So I would encourage everybody in the world of development to get out there and educate their donor base about that, keeping in mind it doesn't go into effect until 2026. So Doesn't apply for this calendar year or for this donation year, but it will beginning next year. So that was a piece of good news that came out of that tax legislation, which we don't always get. And that was just something that I wanted to mention since we were on the topic of development. So I always like to close with this, Hugh, which is, what did I not ask you that you wanted me to, or what do you want to make sure that we hit on before we wrap up?
I think that thank you for that. And thank you for this opportunity again. You know, one of the most important things that sometimes can get glossed over is the virtue of gratitude. And I'm exceedingly grateful to the agency for whom I work, the community that I serve, but also all of the donors, both individual and corporate and grantees, for their unwavering support. And gratitude takes many forms. It's not just saying thank you, but I think how people prefer to be thanked. And it's through handwritten notes, their tax receipts, their written letters, a phone call. It's just, you can never say thank you enough. And so I'm grateful to this audience for the opportunity for them to hear my voice, and to you and to this team, and certainly to Brisa for making this introduction.
Yeah, I like to say one day we'll all work for Brisa. So,
someone else we have to be nice to, right?
Exactly. Always. So very glad to have you. Appreciate you being here. For folks who are interested, be sure to go to bigmentor.org, and check out what Big Brothers and Big Sisters of South Texas is doing. Well, bigmentor.org is the national, right?
That's our website.
Oh, that's the local. That's the local. Okay, great. So check that out and see what is going on there. And so this is Dan Redman on behalf of Philanthropy SA, reminding you to do well so you can do good.
Thank you for joining us at Philanthropy SA. We hope you found something to inspire you during today's conversation. If you know organizations and people who are making an impact in the community, we would love to hear about it. Until next time, do well so you can do good.